Hello there. Australia wins the 5th World Cup title in style, beating New Zealand, the team giving a befitting ODI farewell to Michael Clarke. That's obviously the big story of the day. That and much more in the next half an hour at News at 6 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor and here are the headlines. Parties firm up opposition against a land bill. JDU says Janata Parivar won't back it in its present form. Congress asks AIADMK to reconsider its support. Aam Aadmi Party's factional fighting continues. Party removes internal Lokpal Admiral Ramdas Prashant Bhushan from disciplinary panel. Prime Minister Narendra Modi joins world leaders in paying tributes to Singapore's first Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. And Australia overwhelmed New Zealand to win Cricket World Cup for 5th time at Melbourne Cricket Ground. Michael Clarke retires from ODI cricket. But obviously the big story of the day in yet another display of their world-beating style and obviously potential. Australia rode on 50s by captain Michael Clarke and Steve Smith to defeat New Zealand by 7 wickets in the World Cup 2015 final. Australia won the cup for the 5th time, sending most of the 93,000 fans at the Melbourne Cricket Ground into frenzy. Now, Captain Michael Clarke chose the occasion to announce his retirement from the ODIs. New Zealand playing in their first final after succumbing 6 times in the semis, suffered a bloody blow in the opening over from Mitchell Starc. Now, Captain Brendan McCullum was bowled without scoring from the 3rd ball that he faced. Runs came slowly thereafter against a hostile, accurate pace attack with man of the tournament Starc leading from the front. The paceman was ably supported by Australia's 2 other left-arm fast bowlers, Mitchell Johnson and James Faulkner, who picked up 3 wickets each. Now, a mid-innings collapse saw New Zealand lose their last 7 wickets for only 33 runs in 10 overs. It effectively ended their hopes of putting up a respectable total despite a semi-final hero Grant Elliott's gusty 83 of 82 balls. The remaining wickets fell swiftly and New Zealand were bowled out for 183 with 5 overs remaining. It was the lowest first innings score in 50 overs World Cup final since Australia disposed of Pakistan for 132 at Lord's in the year 1999.
Obviously, I'm over the moon. What a tournament. I think firstly, obviously, to Brendan and the New Zealand team, they deserve a lot of credit. They're always a tough team to beat. It seems in any sporting event, Australia versus New Zealand is always an exciting contest, and tonight was no different. So to Baz and his team, congratulations on a wonderful tournament, mate, and well done. Especially personally, you're outstanding throughout the whole tournament.
Really, it's been one hell of a ride for us. Right the way through, I think we played some outstanding cricket. We ran into an outstanding Australian team tonight who continue to set the way in international cricket, and full credit to them. They deserve champions. Michael Clarke as well deserves to bow out a World Cup winning champion too. And yeah, all the best to them. They were outstanding in this World Cup, and they thoroughly deserve to win.
And on to some political news now. Well, the Aam Aadmi Party continued its round of internal expulsions. Today, it removed internal Lokpal Admiral L. Ramdas and Prashant Bhushan as the chief of National Disciplinary Committee. The observers said that it could be a prelude to their being removed from the party altogether. The party also sent out a warning to other dissidents that disciplinary action will be taken against any member who issues statements to the media to tarnish the party's image. Here is more.
The 2 warring factions of the Aam Aadmi Party faced off at its National Council meeting. The internal crisis reached a flashpoint with the party first removing its internal Lokpal Admiral L. Ramdas and then Prashant Bhushan as the chief of National Disciplinary Committee.
विवाद की स्थिति नहीं थी, उनको तो निकाला गया है क्योंकि उन्होंने अनुशासनहीनता की थी।
छवि जो नुकसान पहुंचा है इस पूरे विवाद से, उसको रिकवर करने के लिए क्या
वो हम सरकार के काम से और संगठन निर्माण से पूरा कर देंगे।
The emergency meeting also saw a new Lokpal panel being set up. The removal of Ramdas comes a day after he was reportedly sent an SMS asking him not to attend the National Council meeting to avoid confrontation. Miffed over the snub, Ramdas wrote to the Political Affairs Committee criticizing the leadership.
आज 4 निर्णय लिए हैं। पहला निर्णय है कि एक नई लोकपाल समिति का गठन किया जा रहा है जिसमें 3 मेंबर्स होंगे। पहले हैं श्री एन दिलीप कुमार, जो कि फॉर्मर आईपीएस ऑफिसर हैं। दूसरे हैं श्री राकेश सिन्हा जी, जो कि एक फॉर्मर डीआईजी रह चुके हैं और दिल्ली में ही रहते हैं। और तीसरे हैं श्री डॉक्टर एसपी वर्मा जी, जो कि एक एजुकेशनिस्ट हैं, शिक्षाविद हैं। हमारी तीनों से बात हो गई है, उन्होंने ये कार्यभार संभालने के लिए अपनी सहमति दे दी है।
The Aam Aadmi Party body also announced a committee to organize the agitation against land acquisition bill on 22nd of April when the party plans to gherao parliament. The party also formed a committee under PAC member Sanjay Singh to look into expansion of the organization in other states.
From the people who are controlling in the party, rift is not to be resolved. For them it is a final solution and they have achieved final solution. Final solution is a term used in Germany for killing of Jews by Hitler. So from their side, they don't want us in the party. This is loud and clear.
The attempt was two-sided. One was to get a clean slate, clean chit. Other was certain changes inside AAP. Now that became too much for the AAP leadership to accept. Because changes inside AAP have to be discussed at AAP level and then agreed on.
Political rivals also mocked the party for the dissensions within and raised concerns about the effect it will have on the governance in Delhi.
आम आदमी पार्टी में जो ये घमासान और झगड़े चल रहे हैं, उसको देखकर दिल्ली की जनता तो अचंभित है और उसको लगता है कि उसका विश्वास टूट गया है। जाके किन पे विश्वास करेंगे? जिस तरीके का मैंडेट इनको दिया गया था, उसका मतलब था वो दिल्ली का विकास करते हैं।
शासन व्यवस्था शासन करना नहीं आता, इस तरह से झगड़े करके शासन नहीं चल सकता। मुझे अफसोस दिल्ली का हो रहा है।
ये कोई आखिरी नहीं है, ये चालू रहेगा इनका, क्योंकि हर आदमी ताकत चाहता है, कोशिश ये कर रहा है कि मेरा नाम बड़ा हो। तो जो नारा देकर ये आए थे कि हम आम आदमी के लिए काम करेंगे, ट्रांसपेरेंसी होगी, दूसरों से अलग काम करते हैं, ये तो दूसरों से और बदतर काम कर रहे हैं। लोगों की समस्या की तरफ इनका कोई ध्यान नहीं है।
कितने मीटर पाइपलाइन बिछाई गई, कितने खंभे गाड़े गए, कितने अंडरग्राउंड सीवर, कितने मीटर सीवर बिछाया गया, इस पर कुछ भी काम नहीं हुआ। जन लोकपाल बिल कहाँ है? जन स्वराज बिल कहाँ है? आप अपने लोकपाल के मीटिंग में नहीं आ देते और वादा आपने किया था कि आप देश में जन लोकपाल लाओगे। मतलब इससे पता चलता है कि ये स्वार्थी लोगों का एक गिरोह है और ये आम आदमी पार्टी नहीं है। ये दो पार्टियां हैं, अरविंद आदमी पार्टी और भूषण आदमी पार्टी।
On Saturday, Bhushan and senior leader Yogendra Yadav were expelled from the national executive. Bureau report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And amid efforts by the NDA government to reach out to regional parties for their support on the controversial land bill, the JDU said it will not support the proposed law in its present form. Now, firming up its protest, the Congress asked the AIADMK to block the bill in the Rajya Sabha.
Spurning the NDA government's efforts to forge a consensus, the JDU made it clear that no Janta Parivar member will support the land bill in its present form. The party also questioned the government's intention in proroguing the session of Rajya Sabha. The party said constituents of the Janta Parivar will meet on Friday to chalk out an agitation plan from the village level to the national capital against the bill. JDU President Sharad Yadav wrote to Home Minister Rajnath Singh stating that the party is against amendments in the old bill like removing consent clause and the social impact assessment provision. In a related development, the Congress asked the Jayalalitha-led AIADMK to demonstrate its commitment to farmers by opposing the legislation in the Rajya Sabha. Congress leader Jairam Ramesh said the BJP's act was dictatorial as it was brought in through an ordinance without discussion and had done away with many of the pro-farmer provisions made in a similar act brought in by the Congress-led UPA in 2013.
We are opposing the amendment to land acquisition bill. We have two important clauses included in that. That was the social impact assessment. So social impact assessment is a pro-people, pro-farmer provision which is in this act. I do not know under why the Modi government and the BJP wants to remove that. They are now ready to discuss. Discuss is good, but what they are going to discuss?
The issue is not that. I don't know what Janata Parivar is the issue. I think Janata Parivar gets confused sometimes, but I think the real stand and the correct stand is what Srimati Sonia Gandhi ji in the Congress has taken, that we cannot compromise on any element of the land bill.
With a 37-member strength in the Lok Sabha, AIADMK backed the government on the land bill. It drew strong response from other opposition parties in the state, including DMK and CPIM. But party leader Jayalalitha defended the decision, stating that it was extended only after the AIADMK's amendments were incorporated. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And on to news from Jammu and Kashmir. Well, members of the ruling party BJP PDP combined on Sunday staged protests against the National Conference in the Assembly. Now, legislators of the BJP and PDP demanded the arrest of National Conference leaders Sajjad Kichlu over the report on Kishtwar communal riots in 2013. The legislators started shouting as soon as the speaker entered the house.
ने मांग की है सरकार से कि सरकार तुरंत सज्जाद किचलू और जो बाकी के दो लोग हैं उनको गिरफ्तार करके जेल के पीछे बंद करे, क्योंकि ये लोग कातिल हैं.
Once the report is before it will go through it. I repeatedly say that it is the duty of the government. It is the duty of the government. We will examine this. And Sajjad Kichlu, Mr. Sajjad is to be given the opportunity of being heard. Unheard, there is no natural justice say that one should not be convicted or unless he is being.
And two naval officers who died in Dornier surveillance aircraft crash last week were cremated today with full military honours. Lieutenant Kiran Shekhawat and Lieutenant Abhinav Nagori were on board the aircraft that went down on Tuesday night off the Goa coast. Their bodies were recovered from the fuselage of the crashed aircraft. And the pilot of the aircraft was rescued. The last rites of 27-year-old Lieutenant Shekhawat, the country's first woman officer to die in the line of duty, was held at her hometown of Mewat in Haryana. Lieutenant Nagori was cremated today in Udaipur. The 24-year-old was training to be a pilot. Now, 12 ships with the naval divers and 4 aircrafts were used to search for the wreckage of the plane which crashed during a routine sortie. Now, this is the first Dornier of the Indian Navy to crash since it was inducted into the force in the early 1990s. And more news from across the country in Nationwide. Intermittent rains today lashed parts of Kashmir as the Met Department predicted wet weather in the next 7 days with heavy rain or snow in the valley. According to the Met Department, 2 western disturbances will affect Jammu and Kashmir and its adjoining areas. Uttar Pradesh Public Service Commission examination was cancelled after reports of paper leak an hour before the examination today. The papers were allegedly sold for 5 lakh rupees each. The exams were cancelled after protests broke out following news of the leak. Now, according to the UP DGP, police are investigating initial leaks. Over 1,000 people were left stranded on the streets after a 72-inch water pipeline burst at Thane's Wagle estate region. Fire brigade and disaster management teams were immediately rushed to the spot. Local residents revealed that the accident left 700 to 800 hutments submerged. The death toll due to the swine flu virus has crossed the 2,000 mark in the country. The number of infected people stood at 33,625 across the country. 2 more deaths were reported in Rajasthan, taking the total number of deaths in the state to 415. All right, we'll take a very short break here. But coming up ahead, Saudi coalition gains ground in Yemen as fighting continues. That and much more after a short break. Stay with us.
विदेश वार्ताएं या फिर यात्राएं,
इराक संकट से जुड़ी खबरों से उधर अगवा की गई भारतीय
जहां भी है अंतर्राष्ट्रीय घटनाएं, हर जगह है राज्यसभा टीवी की टीम। भारतीय टेलीविजन का एक चमकदार चेहरा, राज्यसभा टीवी।
Welcome back after the break. On to some international news now. And Singapore came to a halt to bid farewell to its founding Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew today. An elaborate and emotional procession around the city was followed by a state funeral attended by world leaders. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also remembered Lee as one of the tallest leaders of his time.
A funeral procession fit for a country's founding Prime Minister. Thousands braved torrential rains to line streets of Singapore to catch the last glimpse of their founding Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. As the coffin was carried through the city from the Parliament House on a gun carriage, chants of Lee Kuan Yew reverberated all around. The armed forces gave the highest honor to the leader with a 21-gun salute, a fly-past by the Air Force planes and sail-past by naval boats. "170 foreign dignitaries were in attendance at the state funeral, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Modi lauded Lee as a global thinker and said India deeply valued his friendship and his support for its economic progress.
The passing away of His Excellency Lee Kuan Yew marks the end of an era. He was among the tallest leaders of our times.
Lee's son and current Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong presented an emotional eulogy. He said although his father had not lived to see Singapore's 50th anniversary celebrations later this year, the country could be proud he had lived to see his life's work come to fruition.
Mr. Lee once said that we intend to see that Singapore will be here 1,000 years from now, and that's your duty and mine. Mr. Lee has done his duty and more. It remains our duty to continue his life's work, to carry the torch forward and keep the flame burning bright.
Although ruling with an iron grip, Lee has been credited with transforming the resource-poor island into a wealthy finance and trade hub. After eulogies from 9 other leading figures, sirens sounded across the city to mark the beginning and end of a minute's silence. Lee is being cremated at the Manday Crematorium in a small private ceremony. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, in related news, airstrikes and ground battle continue in Yemen. Now, even as ousted Yemeni President Mansour Hadi accused Shiite Houthi rebels of acting at the behest of Iran. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia said military intervention will continue till the country becomes stable and safe. Saudi-led coalition has gained upper hand after Saturday's fighting.
Yemen is turning out to be a ground for proxy war between Sunni Arab nations and Shiite Iran. A fourth day of airstrikes continued by the Saudi-led coalition. They said that they have pushed Houthi rebels out of the contested air bases in Yemen. Yemen's ousted President Mansour Hadi called rebels puppets of Iran. He plans to stay abroad until the situation is under control.
يمكن أن تبني الأوطان فهو مخطي 1000 مرة فأنت من انتهك السيادة وأنت من يتحمل المسؤولية كل ما جرى وكل ما سيجري.
Objective is to continue to look for this kind of missiles, to target it, destroy it. We believe that we destroy most of these capabilities.
The Arab League pledged its full support for the Saudi-led campaign, reiterating that strikes by Saudi-led Operation Storm of Resolve were an act of legal self-defense. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon also addressed the Arab League summit and condemned actions by Iranian allied Shiite Muslim Houthi rebels seeking to overthrow President Mansour Hadi.
I share those deep concerns. I have repeatedly condemned the attempts by the Houthis and former President Saleh to undermine political agreements by military force. I take note that military action has been undertaken at the request of Yemen's sovereign and legitimate leader, President Hadi.
Meanwhile, evacuations of diplomats and foreign nationals continue. Pakistan has sent jumbo jets and ships to evacuate its nationals. The UN has already started to evacuate its staff. On the ground, shops remain closed and streets are empty, except for the war tanks. People have started to evacuate the city and are seeking refuge in other places. Official reports suggest that over 68 people have been killed and nearly 500 wounded in Aden since last Wednesday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, as the situation deteriorates in Yemen, India is making all efforts to evacuate its citizens from the war-torn country. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj on Sunday assured that her ministry had sent 2 ships to rescue the stranded Indians. She tweeted that at least 80 Indians were evacuated from the capital Sana'a on Saturday. The ships would take at least 5 days to reach the destination. In such a situation, possibility of airlifting people are also on the cards. A report suggests that many people with Indian passports are being detained. The Indian embassy in Yemen has also intervened to bring Indians who were stranded there back to the country. And France's ruling socialists are looking for a drubbing in the local polls as the French vote in the second round of local polls today. The vote is expected to deliver a boost for former President Nicolas Sarkozy and far-right challenger Marine Le Pen. Now, this comes at a time when the parties have fixed their sight on the 2017 presidential elections, in which Sarkozy hopes to wrest back power from Hollande, whose government has struggled with a sluggish economy and high unemployment. Here is more. France is electing thousands of local councillors as it holds the second round of departmental elections. Former President Nicolas Sarkozy's UMP is likely to dominate the ballot after topping last week's first round vote. In the first round of elections, former President Nicolas Sarkozy's party UMP and its allies took first place, securing 32% votes and edging out far-right National Front that came second with 25%. President François Hollande's ruling socialists came third with 22%.
Que toutes les opinions soient représentées et qu'elles participent au mieux, au bien pour notre pays.
Le Front National qui monte et qui surtout fait un maillage subtil sur toute la France. Et donc là, il y a un vrai danger. Enfin, je pense que c'est évident.
After last week's vote, Sarkozy said that it was clear there was a desire for political change in France. Le Pen, whose party was tipped to come first, said the result was a big success for the National Front. The second round is witnessing a runoff between the UMP and the FN in many constituencies, while Hollande's third-place socialists are expected to lose control of many councils. The elections are seen as a test case ahead of 2017's presidential election. Paris and Lyon, France's 2 big cities, are excluded from today's election. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And Nigeria polls entered the second day after the Election Commission said it will extend the voting in districts that has suffered technical problems. Now, vote count started on Saturday after Nigerians cast their ballots in a tightly contested presidential election. Now, seeking a second term, Goodluck Jonathan is facing former military ruler Muhammadu Buhari. In other areas, counting of votes ended on Saturday night. Meanwhile, other voters expressed concerns about recent violent attacks targeting the presidential election.
It's not a do or die affair. Anything that comes our way, we accept it. Look, I voted for him, but I say anybody that wins, I believe it is God.
And more international news and updates in Global Buzz. The search continues for the second black box from the downed Germanwings plane in the French Alps. So far, investigators have retrieved only the cockpit voice recordings that show that co-pilot Andreas Lubitz locked himself up in the cockpit and he crashed the plane deliberately, killing all 150 people on board. A former girlfriend said that Lubitz was under psychiatric treatment. US Secretary of State John Kerry cancelled his return to US to stay in Switzerland as Iran nuclear talks approached its deadline. The foreign ministers from 6 world powers are trying to reach a deal with Iran to restrict its nuclear program in Lucerne before a self-imposed deadline on 31st of March. A hotel siege by Somali's Al-Shabaab in Mogadishu that ended on Saturday has taken the death toll to 24, that include 6 attackers. The attackers were believed to have occupied the 3rd and the 4th floor of the hotel. Security was tightened around Tunis Bardo Museum, the site of a deadly attack targeting foreign tourists, as thousands of Tunisians are expected to take part in a solidarity march. The French President François Hollande, Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas are expected to join Tunisia's President Beji Caid El Sisi for the march. And on to sports now. Well, after cementing her position as world number one, Saina Nehwal will be looking to back the Indian Open Super Series. In fact, that match has started and she's up against 8th rank Ratnachok in Tanon of Thailand in the finals today. In fact, looking at the head-to-head record, well, Saina has the 5-3 record against the Thai player, but Saina lost to her at the All England Championship semi-final in 2013. Well, we talk about semi-finals. Well, she defeated Japanese Yui Hashimoto in the semi-finals to advance to the final of the Indian Super Series for the first time. And we'll be getting you all the updates on that story as the match happens. And more sports news in Sports Beat. Sebastian Vettel took a sensational maiden victory for Ferrari, winning a straight fight with Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes at the Malaysian Grand Prix today. Vettel, who joined Ferrari this year as Fernando Alonso's replacement, won a strategic battle as Mercedes struggled with tyres in the tropical heat. Hamilton's teammate Nico Rosberg was third. Top seed Novak Djokovic needed 3 sets to get past unseeded Martin Klizan on Saturday night to claim a win in his opening match of the ATP Miami Open. And Djokovic blanked Slovakian Klizan in the first set but lost the second before breezing through the third to take up a 6-0, 5-7, 6-1 win and advance to the matchup with Belgian qualifier Steve Darcis. Marwan Fellaini struck twice as Belgium moved within 3 points of Euro 2016 Group B qualifying leaders Wales with a 5-1-0 thumping of Cyprus on Saturday. Eden Hazard wrapped up the win before Michi Batshuayi came off the bench to mark his international debut with a goal. Belgium have now 8 points from 4 games and they play Israel on Tuesday. Brazilian-born Ede marked his Italy debut in style with a brilliant equalizer as they kept their Euro 2016 qualifying run going in Bulgaria on Saturday. The Italians have not lost in 44 qualifying fixtures, but that was seriously under threat as they trailed 2-1 with 8 minutes left. But Ede curled an equalizer from the edge of the box to secure a 2-2 draw. That's it from me. Thanks for watching.